Part 16. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 155. No. I can't die. The fourth Kazekage suddenly shouted. Tsunagakure village cannot live without me, the Kazekage. However, when Yekang heard this, he became even more angry. So, I am dispensable to the village and can be discarded at will. The fourth generation Kazekage's expression was stagnant, but he quickly spoke again. Only I have the power to suppress Shikaku. If you kill me, Shikaku will go on a rampage and no one in the village will be able to suppress him. Hyuga Nariku chuckled and said. You don't need to worry about this anymore. I will take Shikaku away. Tsunagakure village will not need to worry about tailed beasts going berserk in the future. The fourth Kazekage's heart was filled with pain, and he was choked so much that he could hardly speak. The logic of this statement is as follows: you don't have to worry about living in too much pain, because you will die soon, and you will never be alive again after you die. I feel the pain. However, sadly, the fourth Kazekage discovered that no one can stop Hinata Nariku now. With a glance, the fourth Kazekage suddenly felt a little hope. Gaara. He is going to kill you. The fourth Kazekage yelled at Gaara, who was behind Hyuga Nariku. He wants to take the Shikaku out of you. If the tailed beast is pulled out of your body, you will definitely die. Don't be fooled by him. Gaara's body trembled. He looked at Hinata Nariku at a loss. What do you think? Hyuga Nariku didn't explain for himself, but looked at Gaara with interest. Why did you protect me just now? After struggling for a long time. Gaara asked this question. Just now, after his father ordered Granicho to kill him. Hyuga Nariku was protecting him. However, Gaara couldn't understand it at all. Hyuga Nariku the intention to do so. I'm looking forward to your future. I want to see what you will become in the future. Hyuga Nariku knelt down and said to Gaara. Also, you don't have to worry about dying after the monster is taken out of your body. I have a way to solve this. But it might still hurt a little. Hinata Nariku pondered for a while and said. Gaara's expression was uncertain, and it took him a long time before he made up his mind and said. Please. It doesn't matter if you're lying to me or not. Even if he dies. In other words, it doesn't matter anymore. His father wants to kill him. In such a world, there seems to be no need for him to exist anymore. Be careful not to cry from the pain. Hyuga Nariku was silent for a while and said with a smile. A touch of chakra appeared on each of the 5 fingers, and he pressed Gaara's abdomen suddenly. Seal, unlock. Boom. An astonishing momentum burst out. A violent chakra aura and even a shock wave appeared. Sure enough, he is still dishonest. Hyuga Nariku curled his lips and formed a seal in his hand. 4 elephants seal. A grey-green gourd appeared out of thin air in his right hand, serving as a container to seal Shikaku. An illusory chakra emerged from Hinata Nariku's hand. It turned into a strange palm and grabbed Gaara's abdomen. Hateful. Let me go. Let me go. Shikaku didn't have time to show his body. In the form of chakra, he was pulled out directly. It was obviously just an ordinary sealing technique. However, Shikaku discovered that it couldn't resist at all. Tisk, as expected, it's still not as good as King Kong blockade. Hyuga Nariku said with emotion. This 4-elephant seal was something he learned temporarily before. The 4-elephant seal can only be regarded as an ordinary sealing technique. It has a restraining effect on chakra, but for tailed beasts, the effect is not particularly strong. It is not as good as the wood release and Mangekyo Sharinan. Now he can only rely on the suppression of his strength to forcefully seal Shikaku. The Vajra seal of the Uzumaki clan is completely different. According to Hyuga Nariku's speculation, the Vajra seal should be necessary. It can only be used by the blood of the Uzumaki clan. It has extremely strong restraint on tailed beasts. Even Uzumaki Kushina, who was seriously injured and on the verge of death, could immobilize the Kuwabai with a diamond blockade. Moreover, the Kuwabai at that time was completely intact. Rather than being cut in half by Namikaze Minato, Hyuga Nariku suspected that King Kong's ability to seal may also come from the sacred tree. The heretic demon can cast a chakra chain. It can easily seal the tail in a very short period of time. Beast King Kong's blockade may be derived from the ability of the heretic golem. Gaara's face turned pale and he cried out in pain. As Shikaku's chakra was extracted away, he could clearly feel that his life force was also losing rapidly. Did you really lie to me? The thought came to Gaara's mind. His thoughts sank into despair, and his consciousness gradually blurred. A green, vital chakra was injected into his body. What's this? Soon, Gaara felt that his condition was completely restored. The previous injuries caused by Shikaku's forceful breaking of the seal completely disappeared under this vitality of chakra. I said, I have a way to save you. Putting away the gourd that sealed Shikaku, Hyuga Nariku said to Gaara. 6 levels of yang release. Even if Gaara is dead, Hyuga Nariku has a way to revive him. What's more, he wasn't dead just now. Gaara's little face was dull, and he hadn't come back to his senses yet. The monster inside him had disappeared. He no longer had to endure Shikaku's constant harassment. Hinata Nariku punched Gaara in the face. Boom. Gaara didn't make any move at all, the sand had already blocked the punch. Did you see anything? Hyuga Nariku asked. What? Gaara was confused. However, he soon came to his senses. Why is the sand still protecting me? The sand will automatically protect him. Isn't it the power of the monster in his body? Isn't the monster in his body gone now? The sand will protect you, not Shikaku's power. Hyuga Nariku said as he carefully observed the sand. He could sense that it seemed to contain some kind of wool. It was outrageous. Hinata Nariku felt that he couldn't understand. How could this be done? It's simply a miracle. The miracle's name is Mother. If not the power of monsters, then who is? Gaara murmured to himself. Who would want to protect him? That is. The 4th Hokage Raza looked at the sand that automatically protected Gaara and was stunned. Is it the will of Galuro that is still protecting this child? Elder Kyande looked here and said in disbelief. Kumogakure forced me, and the 3rd Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 156. Hyuga Nariku didn't know Garuru's strength. But, even if you guess higher, the strength of the 5 shadows is at the 1st level. I have never heard of anyone being able to do such a thing. Although he has been dead for many years, he can still leave an absolute defense for his children. And the defense speed of the sand is at least Chuyunin level. In the original work, Xiao Li during the Chunin examination period already had Chunin level strength. And he's a Chuyunin who's good at Taijutsu. However, after Xiao Li took off the weight, his speed could surpass Gaara-san's automatic defense. Galliuro. Gaara looked at the sand floating in front of his eyes. There was confusion in his tone. He had heard this name from Yoshimaru before. It's his mother's name. But she. Gaara bit his lip tightly. Didn't she give birth to me with a curse? That's what Yoshimaru told me. Hyuga Nariku glanced at the 4th Hokage and said. He lied to you. How could Shikaku protect you? It wants you to get hurt, and then breaks through the seal when your mood is fluctuating. The reason why the sand protects you is because of your mother's will. In this way, she is always with you. Crack. The sound of water drops falling on the ground sounded. Tears couldn't stop falling from the corners of Gaara's eyes. A child who had suffered too many grievances. Finally he could cry. Why, why, why did Yoshimaru lie to me? Gaara said intermittently with a choked voice. Not only did he come to assassinate him, he also told him that his mother gave birth to him with a curse. Before. The moment he heard this, Gaara's brain, instantly filled with despair. Of course it's because of your wonderful father. There was a hint of sarcasm in Hinata Nariku's voice. Probably, he wants to test you this way. Let's see if you can control Shikaku's power under extreme emotions. This kind of operation. How can I put it? It's even more outrageous than Danzo. Letting Danzo be the Kazekage is better than Raza. If it were Danzo, he would have brainwashed Gaara since he was a child. Turn Gaara into it can become a mission machine without any emotions. In this case, it is very likely to be successful if tested using the same method. For a mission machine without emotions, such excitement is nothing at all. But Gaara. He has his own feelings. He is not like the members of the root organization, who have been brainwashed until they lose their emotions. As a result, the fourth Kazekage still tested like this. Let Gaara's most trusted Yoshimaru assassinate him, and after the failure, he also let Yoshimaru said that no one has ever liked you, you are a person who is desperate at this time. Hinata Nariku feels like he wants to pry open the fourth Kazekage's head. Look how long this little head is. Look at Yekang looking at the fourth generation Kazekage with a sneer on his face. Use your dead mother to test your own child. How did you come up with it? From Gaara's words, Yekang also understood the fourth Kazekage's operation. He asked Gaara's uncle Yoshimaru to assassinate him. After the failure, he asked Yoshimaru to say that Gaara's mother Garuru was carrying a curse. The one who gave birth to him. This. Yekang felt that compared to his own experience, he seemed to understand a little more. Is this really something a father can do? The fourth generation Kazekage looked at the sand absent-mindedly, and his eyes moved to Gaara. However, in Gaara's eyes, he only saw hatred for him. The fourth Kazekage remained silent. Hinata Nariku shook his head and said, You, Kazekage, have done a lot of stupid things in your life. Tsunagakure's hero, Hayakura. He betrayed him and wanted to kill him. Tsunagakure's Jinchuriki, his own son, Gaara. He was used as a war weapon. Now, Gaara has no regard for him. Sympathy. Is there anything else you want to say? Yekang raised his hand to summon a ball of scorching fire. The crimson fire reflected on his face. The murderous intention appeared unabashedly. Luo Xia opened her mouth, but in the end she only sighed. I'm such an incompetent Kazekage. He is also an unfit father. Having said that, he closed his eyes. The scorching fireball directly penetrated his body. Chi, chi, the sound of rapid loss of water rang out. In a few seconds, Luo Xia turned into a mummy. Well. Elder Kinyo sighed quietly. Mr. Hokage, since Raza is dead, can you remove your wood release? The wooden escape that almost covered the entire Tsunagakure village kept the Tsunagakure ninjas out of the battlefield. Hyuga Nariku didn't pay attention and directly formed a seal. The trees that grew like crazy stopped one after another. Phew. Suffering in the sea of trees. The struggling Tsunagakure ninjas finally breathed a sigh of relief. Click. The sound of branches being cut continued to sound. The Tsunagakure ninjas who were blocked outside the sea of trees, and the Tsunagakure ninjas who were not entangled in the branches, took action one after another. The person who was entangled in the branches was rescued. Whoosh, whoosh, soon. A large number of Tsunagakure ninjas rushed to the battlefield vacated in the middle. The fourth Kazekage had become a mummy. The leaf that killed him Kurama, expressionless. Elder Cho, just walked out of the shackles of the puppet. Gaara, still sobbing from time to time, and his emotions have not calmed down. As for the last Hyuga, Tsunagakure ninjas, look at me, let me look at you. No one dared to come forward and attack. Hinatan Naraku chuckled and didn't care. A large number of messages popped up in the background of the system. This time, a large number of Tsunagakure ninjas were defeated, and a total of 8,000 points were obtained. Plus what was left before. Now, the total number of chakra points is 15,400. Before, Hyuga Naraku only used the tree world to stop the Tsunagakure ninjas. He did not use his heart to deal with them. Many Tsunagakure ninjas who were not restrained did not defeated. The ninja who was stopped outside the Sea of Trees was not included. Mr. Hokage took Shikaku away. Do you have any explanation? Elder Kyande stood up helplessly. After Luosha died, there was really no one left in Tsunagakure. Apart from her, the one with the highest prestige was Yakang. It can be counted as the money your first generation Kazekage took from selling the tailed beasts. Hyuga Naraku said casually. Tsunagakure didn't do anything, but he took part of the money from the sale of the tailed beasts from the first Hokage. What a shame. In addition, during the Third Ninja War, the peace agreement signed by Sarutobi Hiruzen and Tsunagakure was also very problematic. Tsunagakure village did not pay the price for its aggression at all. Speaking of which, this is also a confusing operation of Tsunagakure. After the disappearance of the third Kazekage, Tsunagakure did not immediately choose the fourth Kazekage. As a result, the leaderless Tsunagakure was attacked by Kumogakure and suffered heavy losses. Third, the Sub-Ninja World War began. After that, in order to divert its own conflicts, Tsunagakure chose to export the war. And Tsunagakure's target was naturally the richest fire country. Konoha was at war on all sides. I hope to bring the war on the battlefield should end as soon as possible. For this goal, the weakest Tsunagakure village was naturally chosen. As a result, the Tsunagakure village was set on fire by Konoha, and its head was blown off. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen, in order to fight with the enemy as soon as possible, Tsunagakure signed a peace agreement, and the agreement did not make many demands for Tsunagakure. Konoha and Tsunagakure won the battle, but they gained almost no benefits. Well. Elder Cho sighed. At the beginning, she chose to transfer the internal conflicts to the outside world, which was partly her reason. The results were disastrous. Tsunagakure village was the worst loser among the 5 great ninja villages in the 3 battles. After the disastrous defeat in the Third War, the daimyo also reduced the allocation to Tsunagakure village. From then on, Tsunagakure became worse and worse day by day. Tsunagakure really has no money now. Elder Cho said helplessly. Hinatan Naraku nodded slightly. He believed this. Not only did he have no money, but there were not many people who could take it. There are so many Tsunagakure ninjas. One can break through the Sea of Trees and come to help Yondame Feng. There are no shadow people. Tsunagakure has no money, so he must have something else. For example, Tsunagakure's ninjutsu and puppetry techniques. For another example, I heard that Elder Kyande you are studying a forbidden technique called reincarnation. Hyuga Naraku said with a smile on his lips. Cho's expression changed drastically. Why would Hyuga Naraku know about reincarnation? What, does Elder Cho have any opinions? Hyuga Naraku glanced around at the ninjas of Tsunagakure and said indifferently. The ninjas of Tsunagakure felt a complete disregard. They were filled with anger, but they did not dare to take action. The opponent could be directly controlled with just a ninjutsu stop them. They really have no room for resistance. Santh village has no opinion. Elder Cho said with weakness in his voice. After the disastrous defeat in the war against Konoha, she had expected this result. Now, getting this result has only been delayed for a few years. Hyuga Naraku nodded and said. I will send people to sign a new peace agreement with Tsunagakure. That. Gaara suddenly spoke. As if he mustered up the courage. Thank you for protecting me just now. Besides, when I can understand my mother's will in the future, I hope to share it with you. Hyuga Naruko squatted down with a smile and looked at Gaara. I'm always welcome. P.S. I feel that the protagonist seems to be a bit inappropriate, he obviously just took Yekang to kill Gaara's father. Gaara seems to have the feeling of recognizing the thief as his father. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 157. You went to Tsunagakure and then defeated Tsunagakure. Narashikaku was speechless. Before, Hinata Naruko pushed a bunch of things to him. He said he was going to Sand Hidden Village. Narashikaku felt a little speechless at that time. He had never seen such a troubled Hokage. Before, after fighting Kirigakure, the ninjas of Konoha came back. Hyuga Naruko, the Hokage, stayed in Kirigakure for a while. Now, I have to run to Tsunagakure village alone. However, out of hatred for Hinata Naruko, Narashikaku didn't say anything about his trust in strength. It's just that. Hyuga Naruko pushed the Hokage's affairs to him, the Hokage's assistant. This made him very distressed because he wanted to fish. However, now, he is even more troubled. Send people to Tsunagakure to re-sign the peace agreement, and then bring back the loot. This was originally the price that should be paid after Tsunagakure village was defeated in 3 battles. Hyuga Naruko took a sip of tea and said nonchalantly. Narashikaku. What you said makes sense. But can you stop leaving things to me all the time? At this time, Kakashi walked in. With Jiraiya and Naruto. Lord Hokage, Lord Jiraiya, and Naruto have arrived. Kakashi said respectfully. In private, the two of them are classmates at the same time, so they can call each other by their first names. However, in the Hokage building, Kakashi still chooses to call him respectfully. Hyuga Naruko nodded. There is one thing that I think the 3 of you should know first. After looking at the 3 people with incomprehensible expressions, Hinata Naruko continued. The masked man has been confirmed to be Obito. Before, he specifically asked Kakashi to call Jiraiya and Naruto. These 3 people. Kakashi is the only remaining disciple of the 4th generation. Jiraiya is the teacher of Namikaze Minato. As for Naruto, not to mention people. When Naruto heard this name, he couldn't understand it at all. He still had an impression of the masked man. He was the bad guy who had stimulated him before and wanted to catch him. As for Uchiha Obito. Obito, who is he? Naruto asked directly. After being taken care of by Jiraiya for a period of time, the darkness hidden in Naruto's heart was dispelled a lot. In addition, he still remembered that in the consciousness space, his father said that he could trust Hinata Naruko. Naruto was not too restrained in front of Hinata Naruko. Obito, this name, could it be Minato's student? Jiraiya said uncertainly. He remembered the 3 children in Minato's class. In addition to Kakashi, there was a boy and a girl. Among them, the boy's name seemed to be Uchiha Obito. However, Jiraiya was completely different. Dare to think further. Impossible. Kakashi shouted suppressed. Cold sweat fell from his forehead. It can't be Obito. Obito is dead. There's no way he could do that. Hyuga Naruko said in a calm voice. I saw him with my own eyes. Moreover, he admitted it. Kakashi was suddenly stuck. He subconsciously wanted to say that Hinata Naruko had admitted his mistake. However, at the time, Obito and Hinata Naruko were also classmates at the same time. They also knew each other. How is this possible? Kakashi muttered. Actually, he had already guessed it. That masked man is most likely Uchiha Obito. The biggest evidence is that the other party didn't kill him even though he had a chance to kill him. But if that person is really Obito, Kakashi even hoped that his mind would stop immediately and stop thinking about it. However, the things that the masked man had done still appeared in his mind one by one. Is it really that Uchiha Obito? Jiraiya felt his neck getting cold in waves. Uchiha Obito, that's Minato's disciple. That is to say, the Nine Tails Rebellion. Did Minato actually die at the hands of his own disciple? What on earth are you talking about? Naruto became more and more confused. Jiraiya swallowed and explained. Uchiha Obito is your father, a disciple of Namikaze Minato. Just like the relationship between your father and me. Speaking of which, Obito Uchiha should be considered my disciple. Jiraiya sighed with emotion, and then said with a look of disbelief in his eyes. The point is, if that masked man is Obito Uchiha, the one who released the Kyuubi and killed your parents was actually Minato's disciple, the hero on the Konoha Memorial Monument. This is impossible. Obito must be dead. Kakashi still doesn't want to believe it. Obito's body was hit halfway by a rock. Later, it was completely submerged by boulders. How could Obito, who only had Shuunin strength at that time, survive? Hyuga Naruto nodded and said. I'm also curious about this. After Uchiha Madara rescued Obito, they all thought it was a miracle that Obito survived. According to Uchiha Madara, he was not hit by a rock to death. It was as if he had penetrated the rock. Hyuga Naruto felt that he was completely helpless. I understand. Obito is a bit of a cheater sometimes. However, I can confirm that the one I met was Obito. I also exchanged a few words with him. Hyuga Naruto said slowly. Obito resented that the fourth generation always arrived late and failed to save Nohara-rin. He resented the ninja world for killing Nohara-rin. Therefore, he went crazy for revenge against the murderer of Nohara-rin, Kumogakure. His target is the tailed beast. I was in Tsunagakure village this time, and I met him when he was about to catch Ichibai. During the Nine Tails Rebellion a few years ago, on the one hand, he wanted to capture the tailed beast, and on the other hand, he wanted to take revenge on the fourth generation. This. Jiraiya and Narashikaku were stunned beyond words. Because of this kind of thing, I resented my teacher. For this reason, Kyuubi was released in the village. Who does this have to be to do such a thing? This can't even be called a human being. Is this a beast? Obito is not that kind of person. Kakashi said stubbornly. I wasn't the only one who saw Obito's appearance, many people in Tsunagakure village saw it. Hyuga Naruto said indifferently. If you don't want to believe it, you can go to Sand Hidden Village and ask someone. Kakashi was speechless. Eventually, he had already guessed it. I'm just deceiving myself. It has been conveyed to you here. Then, let's directly announce Obito's identity. Hinata Naruto said casually. Narashikaku frowned. Do you really want to announce it? The name of Uchiha Obito is still engraved on the commemorative monument. The hero of the Battle of Konobe Bridge became the mastermind behind the Nine Tails Rebellion. Will this affect the reputation of the village? Since it was Obito who did it, there's nothing he can't say. Hyuga Naruto's eyes narrowed slightly. Again. The Nine Tails Rebellion, the families of those who died? At least, give them an explanation. Narashikaku nodded, feeling a little heavy. During the Nine Tails Rebellion, Konoha suffered heavy casualties. At one time, many people thought that the breaking of the Nine Tails seal was an accident. Until before, the masked man came to capture Naruto. Many people knowing that the Kyuubi rebellion was not a natural disaster but a man-made disaster. Then, the murderer of all this should be exposed. The families of the deceased should let them know the truth. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 158. Soon. The news first reached the Uchiha Security Department. That masked man, is Obito Uchiha. Uchiha Fugaku held the announcement prepared by Narashikaku. Uchiha Obito. Fugaku repeated it again. To be honest, he had almost forgotten such a person. Moreover, at the beginning, Obito was not very famous among the Uchiha clan. Even far less famous than Shisui, who was a few years younger than him. Obito, the hero of the Battle of Kanabi Bridge. Ji Shui next to him said subconsciously. However, he quickly shook his head. How is it possible? How could the hero who died in the battle be the mastermind behind the Nine Tails Rebellion? It is indeed that Uchiha Obito. Uchiha Itachi finished reading the notice and said. Moreover, this will make it clear. During the Battle of Kanabi Bridge, Uchiha Obito gave his left eye to Kakashi-senpai. The masked man only has one right eye exposed. In addition, Kakashi-senpai was attacked some time ago and the Sharingan in his left eye was taken away. Uchiha Itachi looked serious. Kakashi's Sharingan was taken away before, and the Uchiha clan was also concerned about it. After all, it was the only Sharingan that did not belong to Uchiha. And it was a three-magatama. The eye was taken away, and the Uchiha clan was naturally concerned. Uchiha Itachi didn't understand it at the time. The other party attacked Kakashi and took away the eye. Why didn't he kill anyone and destroy the corpse? Was it because he didn't have time, or was it something else? The reason? Now, Uchiha Itachi has completely figured it out. The one who attacked Kakashi was clearly his teammate back then. However, Obito may. Shisui subconsciously wanted to call him Obito-senpai. But thinking about what the other party did, I stopped forcibly. Uchiha Obito is a very good person in my memory. Shisui still has an impression of Obito, who is a few years older than him. Although his talent is average, he is not as arrogant as ordinary tribesmen. He also often helps the elderly in the village. Uchiha Fugaku nodded slowly and said. That's my impression too. No matter what he thinks. He can't believe that the original Uchiha Obito would do such a thing. Could there be something wrong? For example, someone got Obito Uchiha's eyes and evolved into a kaleidoscope. Shisui said with a frown. He is not deceiving himself like Kakashi. But Uchiha Obito, the disciple of the Fourth Hokage, the hero of Kanabi Bridge. It is really hard to imagine that he will be the leader of the Nine Tails Rebellion, the man behind the scenes. Even Obito is completely the most unlikely candidate. You can't go wrong. Fugaku flipped through the notice document again and said decisively. This is what Hokage-sama saw and confirmed with his own eyes. Uchiha Itachi nodded thoughtfully. Naraku-senpai and Kakashi-senpai are students at the ninja school at the same time. He must also know Uchiha Obito. It's impossible to admit my mistake. That is to say. Uchiha Itachi's face gradually darkened. A cold aura erupted from the whole person. The three Megatamas suddenly appeared in his eyes. Uchiha Obito, that bastard, is really the murderer of the Nine Tails Rebellion. It's this guy who made us Uchiha suspects of the Nine Tails Rebellion. When he thought of this, Uchiha Itachi felt a wave of fear. If Uchiha was suspected by the village and could not prove his innocence. Without Hyuga Naraku, Uchiha has been suppressed by Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others. In the end is likely to be towards genocide. Shisui's face also darkened. It was all because of him that there was a rift between us and the village. What Shisui always wanted to do was to bridge the gap between the village and Uchiha. However, this gap, it was caused by Uchiha Obito. Send the announcement. Uchiha Fugaku had obvious anger in his eyes. Let that bastard be ruined. Obviously he is the biggest enemy of the village. After all these years, he is still worshipped by the village as a hero. It's simply ridiculous. Soon, the notice spread throughout the village. From the ninjas of the Uchiha Guard to all the villagers. Everyone was stunned at first. After so long, they had almost forgotten who Uchiha Obito was. However, fortunately, it was mentioned in the notice. The disciple of the Fourth Hokage. Kanabi Bridge, the victims of the battle. The fallen heroes who ended the war between Konoha and Iwagakure. For the Battle of Kanabi Bridge, what the villagers of Konoha remember more is the performance of the Golden Flash. Secondly, it is also the card of Sharinan. Cassie was born. 7 years have passed. Many people have almost forgotten this war. However, the Nine Tails Rebellion 5 years ago. Many people will never forget it. October 10th, 48th year of the Konoha calendar. At that time, the 3 wars were over for Konoha. The Golden Flash Minato Namikaze had been on the throne for a year. That day should have been an ordinary night. However, Kuwabai appeared without warning. Appeared in the village. Those who were closer had no time to escape and died tragically on the spot. Kuwabai's huge body, even just a few simple movements, would cause a large number of deaths. And after the initial panic, in order to suppress Kuwabai, a large number of Konoha ninjas died in the battle like moths flying to a flame. I don't know how many people lost their loved ones that night. The pain caused by the Nine Tails Rebellion to Konoha was almost comparable to the entire 3 wars. Both the Fourth Hokage and his wife died that night. When the night ended, the morning sun rose. What was left behind was a ruined Konoha. And the confused villagers who suffered for unknown reasons. After seeing the notice at that time, a scar in everyone's heart was opened bloody. The wound that had been healed for several years was sprinkled with fresh salt, and once again I felt a heartbreaking pain. Obito Uchiha, the disciple of the Fourth Hokage, was actually the mastermind behind the Nine Tails Rebellion. He took advantage of the Yandame's wife to give birth, came to attack, and released Kuwabai in the village. The reason why the Yandame did not rush to seal the Nine Tails immediately was because Uchiha Obito attacked the Yandame, causing the Yandame to be held back. There was some choking in someone's voice. It was mentioned again after so many years. The pain of losing a loved one has not become lighter, but it has become more and more heartbreaking. Many nights, many people have had such a dream. Kuwabai is not there, the seal was broken. Their relatives were still there. However, midway through the dream, the figure of Nine Tails appeared. All illusions were torn to pieces. They woke up with heart-wrenching cries. Feeling as if they had lost their place, they looked at the bright moon outside the window and recalled the past time. At least, the fantasy when you wake up will not be destroyed by the sudden appearance of Nine Tails. Uchiha Obito, damn it! Grinding his teeth with unforgettable hatred. This kind of bastard deserves to be the hero of the village. He had done a good deed by teaming up with Sarutobi Hiruzen and colluding with Kumogakure to attack the village. Not only that, he also wanted to capture the 4th generation orphan. If it weren't for Lord Jiraiya, he might have succeeded. After the failure, he also provoked the children of 4 generations of adults and made the Kuwabai go berserk. A group of Konoha villagers feel their blood pressure is high. What the fuck? Someone couldn't help but use foul language. A group of people couldn't help it anymore. Is this something a human can do? He killed his master and his wife while his wife was in labor. What a fucking beast. After killing 4 generations, he actually didn't even let go of his remaining children. Calling him a beast is simply insulting the beast. How come you, the Uchiha clan, have such a scumbag? Someone said angrily to the Uchiha ninjas. What does it have to do with us? The ninjas of the Uchiha guards responded directly. They were still so angry that they had nowhere to vent their anger. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 159. Who knows what that bastard Uchiha Obito is thinking? We all thought he was dead, okay. The Uchiha ninja said angrily. In the 46th year of Konoha, after the Battle of Konobe Bridge, Uchiha Obito became the hero on the commemorative monument. In the 48th year of Konoha, the Nine Tails breached the seal, and the fourth Hokage and his wife death. There was only 2 years between them. When Uchiha Obito died, he was only 12 or 13 years old. He was only at the level of Shuunin. Who can believe that after just 2 years, he could do something like this? What a big deal. Previously, the Uchiha clan had conducted an internal investigation into the identity of the masked man. They had suspected Uchiha Madara. Others thought it was Uchiha Izuna. Some even thought of Uchiha Kagami, a disciple of the second Hokage. These are the strongest men in the Uchiha clan in the past. But Uchiha Obito? No one would think of him. It's impossible just by strength alone. Uchiha Obito, this bastard, was someone in the clan mistreating him or something. How many of our Uchiha people died during the Kuwabai rebellion? Okay. This bastard made us take the blame for the Nine Tails rebellion. When they think of this, all the Uchiha ninjas are full of anger. The Nine Tails rebellion is such a huge blame on their heads. However, they still can't clear their innocence. They say that the Nine Tails rebellion has nothing to do with them. And no one believes it. The clan is under round-the-clock surveillance. Now it's finally figured out. It's all the fault of that bastard Uchiha Obito. Well. A group of Konoha villagers looked at each other. From this point of view, it seems that Uchiha is indeed more unlucky. Not only did he also suffer the blow of the Nine Tails breaking the seal. Even after this, they will still be suspected of causing the Nine Tails rebellion. Think about it, if this kind of thing happened to them, they would be so depressed that they would vomit blood. We can't just let it go. So many of us have died, but he is still alive and well outside. Where was the place where Uchiha Obito used to live? Are you still saving it? The Uchiha ninja curled his lips and said. Gone long ago. During the Nine Tails rebellion, most of the clan was destroyed. After Uchiha Obito's death, his original residence was preserved. After all, he was a hero who made great contributions to the village. However, on the night of the Nine Tails rebellion, Uchiha's clan was also destroyed, including Uchiha Obito's original residence. As for later, the Uchiha clan was asked by Danzo's old guys to move to the edge of the village. They themselves were still under suspicion. No one cared about this anymore. Even the injured who were alive could not be saved. Come on. How can anyone dig up a dead man's relics? But there's still this bastard's tombstone in the cemetery. The eyes of the Konoha villagers were filled with uncontrollable anger. He was obviously the one who brought the most harm to the village. And yet, in the name of a hero, he accepted their respect as a matter of course. Soon, a large group of people arrived. A cemetery. Here, many heroes who died in the war are buried. Click. The sound of breaking tombstones sounded. With overwhelming hatred, Obito's tombstone was directly bulldozed and broken. Some people started to smash Obito's tombstones. The grave of earth is dug. Well. Jiraiya on the side saw this and did not step forward to stop him. These people all lost their relatives during the Nine Tails rebellion. When they learned that the one who caused the Nine Tails rebellion was actually the hero they had always worshipped. This angry feeling of being cheated on. Need to vent. Awaited. Kakashi walked over slowly with a few bouquets of flowers in his hand. He handed a few bouquets to Jiraiya and Naruto. Are the people who killed my parents really my father's disciples? Naruto had a very complicated look on his face as he looked at the people digging graves in front of him. Rationally, he felt that doing so was not good. But on the other hand, emotionally, Naruto seemed to understand how they were feeling at this time. Kakashi made no move to stop the angry villagers. Obito's grave was erected by him and Lin after they returned to Konoha. At that time, both he and Nohararin thought that Obito must have died on the battlefield at Konobe Bridge. Not even the body was brought back. Just take some of Obito's lifetime things and set up a memorial tomb. Originally, they were buried here in the name of heroes who died in battle. Now, Obito is no longer worthy of being buried here. After a long silence, Kakashi sighed and said, "Sorry. If he had been the one who died, Obito wouldn't have become like this. These things have nothing to do with you," Jiraiya said with relief. After Minato died, Kakashi was confused for a long time. He finally got better. "I remember Minato once told me," Jiraiya recalled with emotion. "He said that the little guy named Obito also wanted to be Hokage. Moreover, he also made an agreement with Minato that he must become Hokage. Only." Jiraiya looked at the tombstones of Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. My mood gradually sank. I really can't imagine why Minato's disciples would do such a thing. What happened during the 2 years he disappeared? Shaking his head, Jiraiya said to Kakashi. "Kakashi, if you really feel guilty, you should figure it out. To find out why he became like this. Go find him and ask him why he would do such a thing." At this time, a female voice suddenly came over. "You are talking about yourself, Jiraiya." Jiraiya's heart moved. This voice. Tsunade. Before he turned around, Jiraiya recognized the owner of the voice. "What you just said was obviously you and Orochimaru, right?" Tsunade said with a joking smile. Behind her, Shizen hugged a pig. After leaving the village for many years, this Princess Tsunade finally returned. "I want you to talk more," Jiraiya said after being choked by Tsunade. On the one hand, he left Konoha to find the Son of Prophecy. On the other hand, he wanted to find Orochimaru. In this regard, he and Kakashi share the same problem. Everyone has a partner they want to get back. "I made a decision," Naruto suddenly shouted. "I want to become Hokage. To become Hokage beyond my father. Didn't that Uchiha Obito once promised my father that he wanted to be Hokage? I will show him that I am the qualified Hokage." Tsunade looked at Naruto's golden hair and blue eyes. "Is this Minato's son?" Tsunade asked with some surprise. "Except for the strange beard on his face. This kid looks so much like Minato Namikaze back then." "Mother-in-law, do you also know my father?" Naruto said curiously when he heard his father's name. Hearing this, Jiraiya trembled instantly. "Naruto, shut up." Jiraiya reminded Naruto in a low voice. "Why, does this mother-in-law seem to know my father?" Naruto was confused. He didn't feel what he said wrong. "Kid." Tsunade's gloomy voice sounded. She put a hand on Naruto's head. "Who do you call mother-in-law?" Tsunade stretched out her hands and pinched Naruto's face, tearing him on both sides viciously. If it weren't for what this brat said just now, it reminded her of her brother Naoki. Even if it was Minato and Kushina's child, she still need to be taught a lesson. "Listen up, kid," Tsunade said to Naruto, who was hesitating and speechless. "Only a fool would want to be Hokage." After saying that, Tsunade stopped pinching Naruto's face. Naruto covered his face and backed away. "This mother-in-law is so fierce." Jiraiya looked a little gloating. "Fortunately, you are light on this." He was beaten by Tsunade the most times in the entire ninja world. It was just a slap in the face, not even a punishment at all. On the other side, Yakushi Kabuto returned to the village at about the same time. Subconsciously, he wanted to come to Konoha Cemetery. He originally wanted to build a tomb for the pharmacist Nanoyu, but suddenly he recalled. At that time, the body of the pharmacist Nanoyu who he accidentally killed was still in the land of Earth. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 160. Konoha Village at night. Kabuto Yakushi was heading towards the Konoha orphanage. Just now, Umbu suddenly found him and said that the Hokage wanted to see him. And the place to meet him was not the Hokage building, but an orphanage located on the edge of Konoha. Kabuto Yakushi didn't understand. Neither of them understood why Hyuga, the fifth Hokage, wanted to see him. I don't understand why the location is an orphanage. Before, he was helping Orochimaru to establish the Sound Ninja Village. This time he returned to Konoha because of Orochimaru's order. He will become Orochimaru's eyes and ears in Konoha. With such a purpose, it is difficult to evaluate whether it is a good thing or a bad thing to directly enter the Hokage's field of vision. Soon, Kabuto Yakushi rushed to the vicinity of the orphanage. This place was rebuilt a few years ago, and it may be different from what you remember. Hyuga voice suddenly came over. Kabuto Yakushi turned his head and looked. He saw Hyuga standing under a tree opposite the orphanage, leaning on the trunk of the tree. Lord Hokage. Yakushi Kabuto bowed his head respectfully and said in salute. The round black-framed glasses shimmered under the night light. There was no fluctuation in his eyes. He is indeed a talent who has been a spy for many years. Hyuga praised him. At the age of 12, he could completely hide his emotions in his heart. Hokage-sama is too praised. I wonder what the Hokage-sama wants to tell his subordinates. Yakushi Kabuto asked with his head lowered. Please ask Orochimaru for me. Hyuga said. Did the Akatsuki organization recruit someone named Beilyuhu? Before in Tsunagakure village, Uchiha Obito once wanted to capture Raza, the fourth Kazekage. However, in Hyuga view, Raza's identity as Kazekage should be of little use to the Akatsuki organization. After all, it is impossible for Raza to join the Akatsuki organization. Therefore, Hyuga guessed. Uchiha Obito may be targeting Raza himself when he wants to capture Raza, not the fourth Kazekage. Raza himself, except for the identity of Daifangage is that he is the owner of the magnetic release blood succession limit. As for the blood-stained ninja, Hyuga naturally thought of Beiryuhu. He was a little interested in Beiryuhu's Nagara technique. However, he couldn't be sure that it was Beilyuhu. Maybe the Red Sand Scorpion needed better puppet materials. Or the Kakuzu needed Raza's heart. Kabuto Yakushi's heart trembled. He controlled his body forcefully, not to tremble. Where was it exposed? Why did the fifth Hokage know that he could contact Orochimaru? No, that's not right. This is not the time to think about this. The most important thing now is how to answer. With his mind spinning, Yakushi Kabuto said. Orochimaru. Yakushi Kabuto made a surprised expression. I heard, didn't Orochimaru defect to Konoha? How can subordinates contact him? Just like an ordinary subordinate. After the boss gives the order, think carefully about how to complete it. Just heard that Orochimaru defected, no problem. It has been 5 years since he left Konoha to work as a spy in various countries. For these things, it should only be I heard that. Ha! Hinata Naruko laughed and shook his head. No need to pretend. I don't know if Orochimaru has told you that my relationship with him, should be pretty good. At least, if he doesn't cause trouble, I have no intention of dealing with him. However, Kabuto Yakushi's mood is getting more and more tense. He can't confirm whether Hyuga Nariku is still testing. If the other party is not sure that he is Orochimaru's person. Saying this may just be to lure him to confess. The subordinates didn't understand what Hokage-sama meant. Kabuto Yakushi said with his head lowered. Hinatan Nariku looked at Kabuto Yakushi with interest and said. You should be lucky, I value your talent very much. So, I am quite patient now. Kabuto Yakushi's talent can even be regarded as the strongest among Nanatsutsuki descendants. Konoha after the end of the 4 battles in the original work. Kabuto Yakushi's strength can even be regarded as the 3rd normal one. The top 2 are of course Naruto and Sasuke, and Metkai may be able to open the door of death again, but that is hardly considered normal combat power. As for Xiao Li, he is not sure to what extent the 8-door Dunjia can be opened. In comparison, he has mastered the Ryokai Cave Immortal mode. Yakushi Kabuto. His strength is firmly higher than that of the average 5-Kage level 1. In 4 battles, Sennin Kabuto even suppressed the 2 brothers Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke at the same time. If it weren't for Izanami, Uchiha Itachi might not have been able to do so. What can I do? Even with the 10-fist sword, it may not be able to hit Yakushi Kabuto in Sage mode. The White Gaki no Jutsu interferes with vision, hearing, and touch, making Susanoo unable to survive. Inorganic reincarnation changes a large area of the field attack. Medical ninjutsu, the bloodline of the Uzumaki clan of Kosovo, Suijutsu's hydration technique, Yugo's use of natural energy, Orochimaru's snake ninjutsu, these are stacked together, and the ability to survive is even stronger than Orochimaru. According to Kabuto Yakushi, he himself didn't know how to be defeated. However, Kabuto Yakushi standing in front of Hyuga Nariku was only 12 years old. Hyuga Nariku took out a document from his hand and read. Kabuto Yakushi, an orphan from the Battle of Mount Kikyo, was picked up by Yakushi Nunu, then the leader of the medical force, and was taken in and raised as an adult. When he was 5 years old, he joined the Root organization because he longed to become a ninja. After that, as a spy, he traveled to various countries to collect intelligence. Now, he has inherited the surname of the orphanage director, Yakushi Nanu, and his pseudonym is Kabuto Yakushi. Hyuga Nariku shook his head and handed the document in his hand to Yakushi Kabuto. This resume about Yakushi Kabuto was left by Sarutobi Hiruzen when he was still there. In fact, the reason why you joined the Root organization is because Danzo came to the orphanage to ask for people to join the Root organization. You were only 5 years old at the time and took the initiative to leave with Danzo. The reason wasn't about wanting to become a ninja at all. Yakushi Kabuto looked at the desire to become a ninja and join the Root organization in the information. His mood suddenly fluctuated. The hand holding the document couldn't help but squeeze it hard. His life. It was like a funny painting. Being ganged up on, Zhang smeared it wantonly. By now, it has changed beyond recognition. Orochimaru should have told you some things. Hyuga Nariku slowly said. Danzo originally threatened Yakushi Nanu's friends by cutting the orphanage's funds. It was also because of this that you took the initiative to leave with Danzo. However, after you left, Danzo soon told Yakushi Nanoyo the real reason for your departure. In order to get you out of the Root organization and to keep the orphanage alive, pharmacist Nanoyo has to continue to work for the Root organization. And, finally, 2 years ago in Konoha 51, I received the last order to kill you. Of course, in her mind, it was someone else. In the silent moonlit night, Hinatan Nariku's voice clearly reached Yakushi Kabuto's ears. He once used the ability of the reincarnation eye to check Danzo's memory. How should I put it? Danzo is really worthy of being called Pot Shadow. Konoha 51 years. Kabuto Yakushi, who was 10 years old at the time, was working as a spy in Iwagakure village. What is very outrageous is that Yakushi Nanu was also sent by Danzo to Iwagakure village to investigate information. Both of them have been spies for several years and have a lot of information in their minds. In Danzo's view, if it were leaked, it would cause heavy losses to Konoha. But from the beginning, Danzo had no intention of letting Yakushi Kabuto and Yakushi Nanu live. He had been ready to get rid of these two men. From Hinata Nariku's point of view, up to this point, Danzo's approach was still barely understandable. But the script designed by Danzo left Hinata Nariku speechless. Through some means, Yakushi Kabuto in Yakushi Nanu's memory becomes another person. So let Yakushi Nanu assassinate Yakushi Kabuto. What the hell? What kind of bad taste is this? Just let people kill each other. What's the point? Couldn't it be better to kill someone else? He also specially created a photo-changing operation, causing Yakushi Nanu's understanding of Yakushi Kabuto to be misaligned. The result is, after Yakushi Nanu was killed by Yakushi Kabuto, facing Yakushi Kabuto who was treating her, she had no idea who the other person was. She even asked Yakushi Kabuto, "Who are you?" Facing the strangest words from the people closest to him, Kabuto Yakushi completely lost himself. At this moment, Orochimaru, the #1 trafficker in the ninja world, appeared and successfully abducted the pharmacist. Hinata Nariku couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Danzo, this guy. He doesn't do anything that has anything to do with people. Kabuto Yakushi's life tragedy was almost entirely caused by Danzo. And Danzo's pot doesn't end there. The Land of Rain, the tragedy of Nagato's life, is also Danzo's fault. He was originally an aspiring young man who advocated mutual understanding between people. Now he is a loyal supporter of nuclear deterrence who talks about carrying rice. Danzo must take at least half of the blame. It's obvious that all Danzo's people are dead. But all the pots he made remain. P.S. The original title of this chapter, even though Danzo is dead, the pots are still there. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 161. Danzo is dead. Hyuga Nariku said while looking in one direction of the village. Kabuto Yakushi remained silent. He had already known about this from Orochimaru before. Orochimaru has been cooperating with Danzo since his defection. Cooperation partner all gone. Orochimaru was naturally the fastest to confirm the news. Frankly speaking, he had almost completely lost himself. When he got the news, he also felt a joy from the heart. Regarding the arrangement between him and the pharmacist Nono Danzo killed each other. He also had hatred in his heart. Danzo once transplanted the cells of the first Hokage. Hyuga Nariku pointed in a direction and said, "Before he died, I stimulated the first Hokage cells in his body to go berserk." A tree grew on Danzo's right arm after transplanting the first generation cells. Just in that direction. At that time, Danzo was hanging on that tree and was killed by me. The tree is still there. Even, that tree is protected. People who have issues with Danzo often go there. They curse and spit. It can be regarded as a way to vent. After all, it is a tree that grows from Danzo. It's like he's Danzo's stand-in. Kabuto Yakushi remained silent. However, my fondness for Hinata Nariku is much higher in my heart. At the same time, he also secretly decided. When I have time, I would go and see the tree where Danzo died. Even if Danzo dies, we must find some bad luck for him. Tick-tock tick in wordless silence. The sound of the clock hands became extremely clear in the night. "Children, it's bedtime." A gentle voice sounded from the orphanage not far away. Then there was the noise of children. On a silent moonlit night, the messy voices of children gave off a unique sense of warmth. However, this warmth no longer belongs to him. It's already 9 o'clock. Medicine Master Kabuto was in a trance for a while. Outside the orphanage building, he saw the familiar old clock again. Back then, when he was in the orphanage. 9 o'clock in the evening is the time for the children to go to bed. After the Nine Tails Rebellion, the orphanage was rebuilt. Hyuga Naruko followed Yakushi Kabuto's line of sight and looked. However, the orphanage is very lucky. Because the location is relatively remote, it was basically not affected by the Nine Tails Rebellion. But after the Kuwabai Rebellion, there were many orphans who lost their parents in the village. These are children who have lost both parents at the same time. For those who are older, the village will give them a subsidy until they reach adulthood. And for children who are too young and unable to take care of themselves, they were all sent to the orphanage. The Konoha orphanage, which suddenly had a lot more people, took advantage of the opportunity of rebuilding the village and expanded it as well. However, this old clock has remained. Hyuga Naruko looked at the ticking clock. The clock looked extremely old. Compared with the orphanage building that had been built a few years ago, the contrast was sharp. Yet, Kabuto Yakushi muttered to himself. Suddenly, he felt more fulfilled inside. Starting from the 46th year of Konoha, he left the orphanage and left Konoha. He began a 5-year career as a spy. In the 2 years from Konoha 51 to the present, he followed Orochimaru. It's been 7 years. He finally came back here again. An orphanage where things are different and people are different. This old clock seems to have become his only coordinate to find himself. After Danzo's death, the root organization also disbanded. Some of the children who did not belong to the major ninja clans were sent to orphanages. These children can be favored by Danzo because they all have some talent. However, many are not yet old enough to attend ninja school. Hyuga Naruko said, looking at Yakushi Kabuto. If you want, you can take charge of the orphanage in the future. Although Kabuto Yakushi is only 12 years old now. However, this age is barely acceptable. In the original book, the 13-year-old Uchiha Itachi destroyed the entire Uchiha clan. Not many people in the ninja world thought it was wrong, Yakushi. Kabuto's heart moved. There was a little light in his eyes. My subordinates are very willing. You will definitely live up to the trust of the Hokage. Kabuto Yakushi replied with great respect. This time, he was really respectful from the bottom of his heart. If he does what Dean Nunwoyo once did, maybe he can find himself a little bit. Did Medicine Master Nunwoyo stay in the land of Earth? Asked Hyuga Naruko. Kabuto Yakushi hesitated for a moment, gritted his teeth and said. That's right. I was too heavy-handed at that time, and there was no way I could heal the Dean's injuries. And other Iwagakure ninjas arrived, so I had to retreat. I don't know what happened next. Hyuga Naruko nodded slowly. His expression was a little subtle. At least, judging from the situation he found here, he didn't see any indication from Iwagakure village about this. In other words, maybe Iwagakure didn't notice it at all. The one who died was a Konoha spy. It's really funny when you think about it. A Konoha ninja, in the land of Earth, killed another Konoha ninja. And the Iwagakure ninjas thought that the person who was killed was someone from their Iwagakure village. It's ridiculous, it's ridiculous. If I have a chance, I will go to Iwagakure village to take a look. However, Yakushi Nanoyo may have been buried. Hyuga Naruko said with a subtle expression. Perhaps, he might be buried as an Iwagakure ninja. But Yakushi Kabuto suddenly raised his head. You. After traveling to several countries and major ninja villages, Kabuto Yakushi was a spy. At this moment, even speaking has become a bit stuttering. You mean, can I ever see the Dean again? Yakushi Kabuto's eyes were full of hope. Although it is impossible to see the living Dean again. But, even if he can pay homage to him, it would be good. Pharmacist Nanoyo sacrificed his life for the village. The village should certainly recognize her achievements. Hyuga Naruko responded naturally. Just don't know. If you know, let the hero of the village bury his bones in a foreign land. It can't be justified no matter what. Is this your commitment? Yakushi Kabuto blurted out. Then, he immediately felt that it was wrong to say this. There was a feeling of overstepping. He was just an ordinary Konoha ninja. He was even Orochimaru's spy. Why should the Hokage promise to him? However, deep down in his heart, I couldn't help but have this thought. Hinata Naruko was startled for a moment, then smiled and nodded. It can be regarded as a promise. This is what he planned to do. With an extremely solemn expression, Yakushi Kabuto took a step back and bowed seriously. Thank you so much for your commitment. Kabuto Yakushi, willing to be driven by Hokage-sama. Hyuga Naruko shook his head and said. You don't need to do anything, just pass the message on to Orochimaru. You can do what you want and study what you want. For him, the value of Kabuto Yakushi is more than just being a spy. Excellent talent, coupled with excellent research capabilities. This is the real value of Kabuto Yakushi. Kumogakure forced me, and the Third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 162. In a hidden base in Konoha. Hyuga Naruko, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Hatake Kakashi walked out of a gloomy room. This base preserves the bodies of some special people. After some people die, it is inconvenient to bury the body due to various special reasons. For example, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Also, Danzo Shimura. The bodies of both men are still preserved. But two people whose reputations have been completely ruined. No cemetery could accept them. Moreover, there is still some value in preserving the bodies of these two people. At least, the materials for the reincarnation of dirty soil can be extracted. Just now, it was Tsunade who came to see Sarutobi Hiruzen for the last time. She returned to the village this time for the same purpose. At the end of Konoha 51, a war broke out between Konoha and Kumogakure. Tsunade didn't care and didn't come back. Later, after the war ended, Hyuga Naruko became the 5th Hokage and declared Sarutobi Hiruzen a traitorous ninja. She didn't even care. Until the end of the war between Konoha and Kumogakure. Konoha announced the death of rebel ninja Sarutobi Hiruzen. She finally came back once. But as for Tsunade, she didn't have much sympathy for Sarutobi Hiruzen's fate. Coming back this time is more like saying goodbye than remembering. After all, he was once his teacher. Seeing each other for the last time was a farewell. That's all. Kakashi, who was accompanying him, had no expression on his face the whole time. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who killed his father, ended up like this. He even had to control himself and not laugh out loud. On the other hand, Jiraiya's face looked a little depressed. However, there was nothing to say. The old man has come to this point, and it can only be said that he has brought it upon himself. Moreover, selling Minato's son as a bargaining chip. Jiraiya was also very angry about this. I've finished reading it. I wonder what Tsunade-senpai's plans are next. Hyuga Naruko asked aloud. He felt a little emotional in his heart. It's not easy for Tsunade to come back. Such an outstanding talent cannot be let go easily. Well, I'll probably stay in Konoha for a while. Tsunade said with no depression on her face. She had no intention of pretending at all. She finally met Sarutobi Hiruzen and settled the relationship between master and apprentice, and that was it. The expressions of Hyuga Naruko and Jiraiya were a little subtle. This means Tsunade. Hand, I guess I have no money, right? At least I don't have any money to go out and gamble. That's why I stayed in the village honestly. Hinata Naruko nodded slightly and said. I have something to ask of Tsunade-senpai. I hope to go to Shija Forest to learn the magic of immortality. He has already faced Black Zetsu head-on once. For him, black Zetsu is a far greater threat than Uchiha Obito. By possessing white Zetsu and then activating the Mayfly technique to conceal his aura, launch a sneak attack. The aura will only be exposed when it is separated from the ground, trees, etc. Byakugan and even the reincarnation eye cannot observe the white Zetsu chakra that activates the Mayfly jutsu. Perhaps it requires the perception of Senjutsu to notice the traces of Bai-zetsu. Immortal magic. The expressions of several people were stagnant. Especially Jiraiya and Kakashi. Do you want to learn magic? Jiraiya said curiously. Why not choose the Senjutsu of Miyamu Mountain? It just so happens that Kakashi also plans to learn Senjutsu. When Tsunade heard this, she looked a little surprised. Can Kakashi learn Senjutsu? Doesn't Zanjutsu require a high amount of chakra? In her impression, Kakashi's chakra amount. Kakashi looked a little embarrassed, coughed twice and said. Without the burden of the Sharingan, my chakra level has returned to normal. In the past, he had to plan carefully every time he fought. He would use Reikiri every day. Now, he can spend it freely. At least. In future battles, he will have no problem holding Reikiri while talking. Jiraiya nodded. Said. I've tested it, and Kakashi's current chakra level has the qualifications to practice Senjutsu. As he said that, Jiraiya suddenly felt a little complicated. Before Namikaze Minato could fully master the Senjutsu, he died in the Nine Tails Rebellion created by Uchiha Obito. And Kakashi is now able to practice Senjutsu. The technique was also because Uchiha Obito took away the Sharingan given to him. Shaking his head, Jiraiya said sternly to Hyuga Nariku. I am very serious, should you consider Mount Miyamu? Myabokuyama has a good relationship with Konoha. He should not refuse to sign a contract with Konoha's Hokage. And learning magic is still very difficult and involves a lot of risks. I haven't fully mastered it yet. If you go to Miyamu Mountain to study, with the help of Fukazaku Sennin, the risk will be much smaller. Moreover, I should be able to provide you with some experience here. Hyuga Nariku listened carefully to what Jiraiya said. Thank you very much, Jiraiya-senpai, for your kindness. But I don't quite accept the rhetoric of Myabokuyama's son of prophecy. Hyuga Nariku said in as tactful a tone as possible. After all, Jiraiya has good intentions. He can't criticize others without knowing what they are doing. However, he really doesn't like Myomushin's prophecy. That is. Tsunade nodded and responded. What a child of prophecy, this is nonsense. In my opinion, the big toad fairy you mentioned is probably an old fool who said such things. At the beginning, Jiraiya told her and Orochimaru about his trip to Mt. Myaboku. The big toad sage said that Jiraiya's disciples would bring about great changes in the future of the ninja world. Jiraiya would be the one to guide this. People who are revolutionaries. How should I put it? It made Orochimaru laugh. And this is also true. The 3 disciples that Jiraiya accepted in the Rain Country died in the war according to the communication from the toad on Mt. Myaboku. The Feng Shui sect died at the hands of his disciples a few years ago. And he still led changes in the ninja world. It would be great to be alive. Jiraiya's expression alternated between red and green. I believe Naruto will be the child of prophecy. After a long time, Jiraiya said firmly. A child has encountered suffering that even adults can't bear. But he can still remain kind. In Jiraiya's view, although Naruto is still very young, he has the potential to become a prophecy, the potential of the sun. A blue-eyed boy calling out the names of the 9-tailed beasts and playing with them. Hyuga Nariku read softly. Jiraiya has mentioned this prophecy. However, in fact, this prophecy was first said to the Six-Path Sage by the great Toad Sage, Toadmaru, thousands of years ago. It's simply ridiculous. Hinata Nariku was disdainful. If the son of prophecy mentioned by the great toad immortal was confirmed to be Naruto, then what would happen if he went to kill Naruto now? Continue to wait? Wait until I don't know when, another blue-eyed boy appears. Only when the real blue-eyed boy and the real son of prophecy appear will the ninja world usher in true peace. So, what about the people before us? Are they all just necessary sacrifices? Ridiculously ridiculous. Hyuga Naruto agrees that the giant toad sage can predict the future. Ability. But the prophecies he made are extremely disgusting. Uzumaki Naruto is the son of the prophecy and will bring peace to the ninja world. This is not a question of bloodline theory, this is fatalism. To a certain extent, Hyuga Naruto agrees based on blood. People with better talents will most likely have children with better talents. For example, Naruto inherited his father's fighting talent. Or even, another example. The two brothers of Six Path Sage inherited Otsutsuki Kagaya's talent. Therefore, they can reach the realm of Six Paths. Senju and Uchiha have been the strongest ninja clan in the ninja world in the past 1,000 years. Isn't it because they inherited the blood of Asura and Indra? In the final analysis, blood theory is an objective fact that has to be admitted. But fatalism is different. 1,000 years ago, the future of the ninja world was pinned on a child who would speak out 1,000 years later. So this 1,000-year war seems to have become children's games on the peaceful road. If Naruto is the child of prophecy, then the fourth Hokage is really a bit pitiful. Hinata Naruto said softly. Naruto will bring long-lasting peace to the ninja world. And Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina may just be the tools responsible for giving birth to the prophesied child. Shaking his head, Hinata Naruto said. I really can't accept what the big toad sage said. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Kumogakure forced me, and the third Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 163. Jiraiya looked a little sad. Namikaze Minato was his most proud disciple. Not only yearning for peace. Even their appearance is the same blue eyes as predicted by the big toad immortal. After Namikaze Minato became the fourth Hokage, Jiraiya was even convinced that he had found the prophesied child. Minato, who became Hokage, can lead the ninja world to peace little by little. Result. Namikaze Minato has only been the Hokage for more than a year. He was traveling abroad at the time, and when he received the news of Minato and Kushina's deaths, it was like a bolt from the blue. In his mind, the son of prophecy who had just begun to shine died young. Only Naruto, the newborn child, is left. I believe Naruto. Jiraiya said firmly. Although Naruto is still young, he has a special power. He has suffered, he understands pain, he understands and inspires others. Hyuga Naruto nodded. He agreed with this point. I don't know if there is any influence from Asura. Naruto is indeed a very special child. But then I hope Naruto can grow up as soon as possible. Hinata Naruto raised the corners of his mouth slightly and chuckled. Otherwise, there might not be much left for him to do. Well. Jiraiya was stunned. Naruto is only 5 years old. But now, Kumogakure, Kirigakure, and Tsunagakure all signed new peace agreements with Konoha. Can be expected. As long as Hyuga Naruto is still there, these three great ninja villages will not dare to start a war against Konoha again. Just like it was when the first Hokage was alive. If Naruto can't grow up as soon as possible, maybe it's like what Hyuga Naruto said. Even if Naruto can influence and change others. But at that time, the ninja world was at peace. What else could Naruto do? Relying solely on strength cannot bring about true peace. Jiraiya held it in for a long time and said. Hinata Naruto did not refute. This sentence cannot be wrong. But it should be added, if you lose your power, you will lose peace. The first ninja world broke out after the death of the first Hokage. The war has proven this. Well. Jiraiya sighed when he saw Hinata Nariku's unmoved look. He had different ideas, so he couldn't forcefully convince him. However, when it comes to senjutsu, he still needs to persuade him. You really should consider the magic of Mt Miyamu. The great Toad Immortal will not force you to recognize and find the child of prophecy. In Jiraiya's view, Hyuga Nariku is the Hokage of Konoha. Moreover, he also admitted that the existence of Hyuga Nariku has maintained the current peaceful situation of Konoha and even the ninja world. Therefore, he does not want such an outstanding person. Something happened to the younger generation. When practicing immortality, if you are not careful and the natural energy cannot be controlled, you may turn into a stone statue. I have a certain degree of confidence that I can control the risks of practicing immortality. Hyuga Nariku said. In fact, according to his estimation, practicing immortality may not bring him any risk at all. However, he has not tried it himself, and he is not too confident about what he said. Oh well. Jiraiya nodded and said no more. Do you want me to help you sign a contract with the slug, and then go to the Shigi Bone Forest to practice immortality? Tsunade said with an inexplicable look in her eyes. Hinata Nariku felt that the way Tsunade looked at him was a bit wrong. It looked like Kakashi, who had been abstinent for 10 years, encountered the latest version of intimate paradise. Yes. Hyuga Nariku nodded and said. I heard that the 3 holy places have their own inheritance of celestial arts. I wonder if the celestial arts of the first Hokage came from the Shiki Bone Forest. Tsunade shook her head. I'm not sure about this either. When she was very young, her grandfather Senju Hashirama passed away. Not long after, her second grandfather Senju Tobirama also died on the battlefield. At that time, she didn't even know what senjutsu was. I can help you sign a contract with the slug, but on your side. Tsunade's tone suddenly became a little strange. His fingers rubbed unconsciously. Slowly, he squeezed out a few words from his mouth. Is there anything to express? Hinata Nariku. In a sense, Tsunade is probably the best to handle among the 3 ninjas. Just pay. Except that she can't sell it herself, there is nothing else that Tsunade can't sell. In the original work, Shizune almost sold her pet pig Dolphin in order to help Tsunade pay back the money. Could it be that Tsunade-senpai still owes money outside? Hyuga Nariku said a little speechlessly. How can it be? Tsunade immediately retorted as if her tail had been stepped on. I am Tsunade Hime, a powerful Sunin, how could I not pay back the money I owe? It's okay not to say it. Hyuga Nariku is now completely confirmed. Tsunade's return this time may not just be to see Sarutobi Hiruzen for the last time. There is also another reason, coming back to hide from debts. Shame on Konoha Sunin, there is no such thing as a serious person. I can hand over the position of director of Konoha Hospital to you. Hyuga Nariku said. Moreover, I can make the decision and give you double your salary. In an instant. Tsunade's eyes moved. She quickly began to make calculations in her mind. According to the salary of the director of Konoha Hospital, it is double. How long will it take to pay back the money owed now? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. Tsunade frowned slightly. This time is a bit long. By the time she finishes paying off her salary, she will be in her 50s. If that's not enough, triple it. Hyuga Nariku gestured with his fingers. 3 times. Tsunade couldn't help but feel excited. She hadn't made much money in these years outside. She had spent all her money gambling and lost everything. She even gained a reputation as the legendary Big Fat Sheep. Every casino she went to was a crowd pleaser. Honorable guest. The result is that Senju's little wealth is nothing more than her misfortune. Although she has to be tied to work in the village, it's good to have an income. Seeing Tsunade's expression, Hyuga Naruko raised a stick again finger. 4 times. Make a deal. Tsunade shouted impatiently. 5 years. In 5 years, she will be free again. Moreover, in these 5 years, she can also find ways to make some money from other channels. The future is bright? Very good. Hyuga Naruko nodded slightly. From today on, you are the director of Konoha Hospital. Spending 4 times the salary to tie Tsunade to Konoha is a waste of money. Moreover, Hinata Naruko had a slight thought in his mind. People need to watch Tsunade more in the future. If there is any lazy fishing, the salary can be deducted. This place cannot be let go easily. Tsunade didn't know what Hinata Naruko was thinking, so she formed the seal with satisfaction. Psychic art. With a burst of smoke, a slug more than half a meter long appeared in front of several people. Slug, this is the 5th Hokage of Konoha. He hopes to sign a contract with you and learn the magic of Shiga Forest. Tsunade said in a good mood. Kumogakure forced me, and the 3rd Hokage persuaded me to die. Author, Uchiha Hokage. Chapter 164. The slug is more than half a meter long, with a blue back and a white belly. Of course, for slugs, the terms back and abdomen may not be too accurate. There are 2 pairs of antennae on the head. With the gentle shaking of the pair of tentacles above, Hinata Naruko felt like being watched. Okay. Slug's voice was a very gentle female voice. It felt very good to people. The blue and white body suddenly separated. It was like there was something in the mud, arching out. It was a psychic scroll. Just put your fingerprint on it with your own blood signature. Slug doesn't mind one more psychic. For a slug with a long life, it is very interesting to be able to contact different people. What's more, Hyuga Naruko is not only the Hokage of Konoha, but also Tsunade recommended people. Although Tsunade has many minor problems. For example, she has a bad temper, a gambling addiction, and runs away due to debt. But Tsunade's character is still trustworthy to Slug. At least the people recommended by Tsunade will not make it disgusting. Did the 1st Hokage also sign a contract with Shijulin? Hyuga Naruko looked at the psychic scroll and found a familiar name. Senju Hashirama. I had a contract with him decades ago, and he was a very interesting guy. Slug's voice had a hint of nostalgia. Hinata Naruko nodded, without saying much, bit his finger and signed on the scroll. However, as soon as his finger was pressed on the scroll, the bite wound was already healed. Hinata Naruko. Being too strong in Yang-dun can sometimes be a bit troublesome. This recovery speed is too fast. The tentacles on the slug's head rotated happily, with excitement in its tone. This recovery ability is very similar to your 1st generation Hokage. He was like this back then. Normal injuries often healed before he even noticed. Tsunade secretly gasped. This kind of recovery ability, she is afraid that she will have to activate the creative life after opening the Baihao art to achieve this. With this Yang escape attainment, it is no wonder that he can help Kakashi restore his eyes out of thin air. Jiraiya touched his chin and sighed. Kakashi had told him. Hyuga Naruko just pressed his eyes and helped him restore his left eye. How about I get the equipment to draw out a tube of blood? Tsunade said seriously. She now looks at Hinata Naruko as if she is the father of the sponsor. What if she fails to sign a contract with Shijulin and the job with 4 times the salary agreed upon fails? No. Hyuga Naruko shook his head. He just didn't expect it just now. He can completely control the Yang escape chakra and limit his self-healing ability. He bit his finger again, signed his name, and pressed the bloody handprint. Somewhere in between, an invisible connection was established. Please wait. Slug put away the psychic scroll and disappeared into the smoke with a bang. Soon. Hinata Naraka felt a pull from time and space. Is this the art of counter-spirituality? Hyuga Naraka's mind was slightly moved, but he did not resist this pull. The scene in front of him suddenly changed. At a glance, it was a large strange forest. The trees were bare and pale, like bones everywhere. There was something about it. The feeling of the early fern dance of the Kagaya clan. Strange rain keeps falling. There is a trace of acid mist. Between the pale woods, there are slugs of large and small sizes. And next to it, the body of slug sage. Hinata Naraka couldn't help but fall. Take a breath. Lift your head almost completely. It's really big enough. Hinata Naraka sighed. A conservative estimate is that the head of the slug immortal is 1,000 meters above the ground. Moreover, this refers to the height of immortal slug. For soft-bodied slugs, measuring length may be more reasonable. The length from head to tail may be doubled. Bam. Tsunade also came to Shijulin. It was Jiraiya who asked her to take a look. He was afraid that something might go wrong while Hinata Naraka was learning Senjutsu. Tsunade accepted it with the mentality of sending Buddha to the West. She had also tried practicing immortality before. It just failed. Therefore, she also has a certain understanding of the difficulty and risks of practicing immortality. No matter how many times I see Slug Immortal's true form, I can't help but be surprised. Tsunade raised her head and sighed. All the slugs in the wet bone forest are actually clones of the Slug Immortal. Including the slugs she usually channels out, they are just part of the Slug Immortal. If she uses her psychic skills seriously, she can channel the slug that emerged from the spirit was also more than 50 meters tall. This size was already comparable to that of a tailed beast. However, it was not worth mentioning to the slug immortal's body. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. The slug covered the sky and the sun. At an altitude of more than 1,000 meters, he slightly twisted his head. But it was just this tiny movement. On the ground, it was almost like a natural disaster. Sorry, I seem to be a little too excited. Slug Immortal sounded apologetically. Let's talk differently. A slug about 2 meters long arched through the ground and crawled in front of Hinata Naraka and Tsunade. If Naraka-sama wants to learn magic, the most important thing is to sense natural energy first. I wonder if Naraka-sama has ever come into contact with anything related to natural energy before. The tentacles on the slug's head swayed slightly, and he said in a relaxed tone. Hinata Naraka thought for a while. The only thing he has ever come into contact with that may have something to do with natural energy is Baizetsu. I encountered a strange creature. It can activate a special ninjutsu that can almost merge with nature. The Byakugan cannot observe chakra's reaction. Hyuga Naraka said slowly. Is it integrated with nature? It should be related to natural energy. The slug tapped its tentacles. It was not surprised by this. According to its understanding, there is a trick in Ryoji Cave's magic that can make you invisible and unable to sense chakra reaction. The ninja world has existed for thousands of years. Is there any interesting magic? Not surprising. Hinata Naraka looked around. The wet bone forest was very big, but with his reincarnated eye's farsightedness, he could see everything. However, something blocked the end of his sight. Is that barrier-like thing around it natural energy? Hyuga Naraka asked curiously. Miyamu Mountain, Shija Forest, and Ryoji Cave. The legends of the 3 holy places have always been circulated in the ninja world. However, there are very few people who have successfully reached the 3 holy places. It seems that the 3 holy places are no longer in the ninja world. The world is the same. From Hinata Naraka's point of view, there does seem to be some truth in saying this. The Flying Thunder God technique he left behind in Konoha now feels very far away. It's not a simple distance barrier. It's a matter of distance. There is a spatial barrier. That's right. Slug's tone became very cheerful. Surrounding the wet bone forest, there is a natural barrier built by natural energy. If you don't master a specific method, outsiders will not be able to get in even if they come outside of Shija forest. Hyuga Naruko nodded thoughtfully. In his memory, the same seems to be true for Mt. Miyaboku in the original book. When Naruto wanted to go to Mt. Miyamu, Fukazaku sage said, "Walk from Konoha to Mt. Miyaboku, it will take a month." Mt. Miyaboku is called the Lost Mountain. If you don't know the secret path, you will definitely not be able to reach it. Now it seems that Hyuga Naruko probably understands. The three holy places are indeed located in the ninja world. But there is a barrier built by natural energy. This barrier separates the place where the three holy places are from the ninja world. It forms an almost independent space. It is impossible to penetrate the barrier and reach the three holy places by just walking physically. This barrier? Hinata Naruko pondered and asked. Can it block the light of infinite Tsukuyomi? Slug suddenly stayed for a few seconds, and then suddenly became very excited. Yes, it can block the light of infinite Tsukuyomi. Does Naruko-sama also know about the past events between Kaguya and Six Paths Sage? Thousands of years have passed. The slug finally awakened the memory that had been dusted for an unknown period of time. After so many years, this was the first time someone mentioned to it what happened 1,000 years ago. However, Tsunade's mind was full of questions at this time. What unlimited monthly reading? What light is blocked? Does this have anything to do with the legendary immortal of Six Paths? Also, Kaguya, does he refer to the Kaguya clan of Kumogakure village? Why is it like she was kicked out of the chat channel? Why can't she understand even the words Hyuga Naruko and Slug said?